Hey guys, hey, welcome to Flourish Chats. I am your host, Olivia Thomas, the founder of the Busy Girls Brunch and Wintentional Consulting, here to bring you another amazing conversation with another amazing person. So I've had the distinct pleasure of knowing Queen for the past, I'm not sure how many years. I think we might be going on 10 years at this point. That may or may not be true. I'm not sure. But it seems like forever. You know those people that you meet and you're like, I it's another one of those like I don't remember when I met you and I feel like I've always known you kind of thing. So my brother introduced me to her. Like one day we like randomly went to her house and I met her and her entire family, and they're just beautiful and amazing and creative people. And you know, there are those creative people who are just creative, and then there are those creative people who are extremely intentional with their talents, and that's what I see in this family and this person in particular. So it's always been like a huge pleasure to know her and to engage her in every and anything she's doing, from braiding my hair to telling me stories about being in the Obama White House doing communications, and even now as a journalist and a professor and a PR pro, and just like all the things. I love her, I admire her, and I want you to meet her. So here she is, my friend, Queen Muse.
Hi.
Hi, friend.
Really? Hi. I'm good. How are you?
Good.
We're
Yeah,
twins.
I know, right? It was, I laid it on there a little bit.
Yes.
But it's true, you know what I mean? Like I've known you to be creative and intentional with your talents, and I've always, and I don't know if I've said that to you, but I've always like really admired that and just like who you are. So I've said a lot. I'm sorry. So now, please introduce yourself. How you would introduce yourself.
Sure. So, hi, everybody. I am Queen Muse. I wear many hats, live tapped on some of those. And I wear all these hats because I love what I do. I'm a writer at heart. And so over time, I've just learned a lot of different ways to use my writing skills in many different places. And that has been the most fulfilling thing ever, to know that, you grow up with this narrative that writers are always going to be broke. Writers are always going to be, it's just one of those creative fields where they always tell you, have a backup plan, and I've just been fortunate in my path to encounter great people like Olivia, and to encounter great opportunities that have allowed me to kind of take those skills and apply them in lots of different ways. So, started out writing in magazines and newspapers, and doing internships at lots of local pubs. Got the really great opportunity to participate in the White House internship in my last year in undergrad at LaSalle. Priceless, and taught me that, hey, you can do writing in this corporate communication setting, and everyone needs a good writer. And I was like, oh, wow, this means I can kind of like work anywhere. And then it just really broadened my mindset on, again, where else I could start to apply my skill set. So I've since just, delved into working for different universities in the city. And I launched my nonprofit, my LLC, the Queen Muse LLC, in 2018, so that I could really branch out and start choosing the clients that I want to work for, writing everything from ghost blogs to speeches to advertising campaigns under that brand. So it's just been a blessing to be able to write for a living and like be able to eat and pay my bills.
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah.
To be able to write and to be able to eat. I
Yes.
Yeah, seriously.
Yeah.
And I love what you said about the idea of like, being a writer and people talking about like being a starving, artist, like in terms of
Yeah.
like being a writer. Um and I remember I bought Classic, this book a while back called Real Artists Don't Starve.
Mm.
And like the entire premise was like, you have to take your art and you have to give it application, like where people can say like, oh,
Mm-hmm.
that's what it does. Otherwise, like it doesn't really have,
Yep.
external value. And like that's legit what you've done. Like you're not writing because it's like, I love to write. Um like
Yeah.
I love to write, but these people need writing.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's funny because it's something I find myself doing all the time at LaSalle. I teach at LaSalle, and we have these, interest tours or sessions where parents come out and they say, well, what kind of job is my kid going to get after they get a degree in communication? And it's just always, the part where I start nerding out and going, are you kidding me? Let me tell you all the jobs I've had and all the jobs that your kid can have, because again, that application, I mean, even thinking back to the White House, I was like, well, why would they want a writer at the White House? And it just really didn't connect for me. I was thinking you would need to be like a dense, really into policy and politics. And it was
Yeah.
like, no, they need someone who can take all that complicated stuff and break it down and write a good tweet, or to, post a blog that breaks down that new bill that they're proposing. And I was like, oh, it was just like, life changing in terms of how I view that skill and how transferable it is. So I'm always going to be the one shouting from the rafters about what you said, exactly that practical application and showing people how these quote unquote creative skills that no one claims to understand why they're worth money or why you would get a job doing it, but we need it in almost every realm of life.
Yeah.
So I'm always going to be shouting about
I
that.
love that. And it's funny because when you go to college, like people always talk about like the communication major being like the flyby major.
The flyby.
That is the craziest major. So
Yeah.
none of this would exist without the communications major.
Yeah, there's a lot there. It's like, well, what is my kid going to learn? How to talk to people? I was like, yeah, that is one thing. Because a lot of people don't know how to talk to people. Like when you apply that to certain settings and situations, people fumble, people get nervous, people don't know how to communicate. So presentation skills is important, and just choosing your language and your words carefully. But there's so much more to it. We study communication theory so we can even understand why we behave the way we do in relationships, and why it's important to behave in certain way to maintain certain relationships in business and in interpersonal. So there's so much more to it. But yeah, it does get that label of being the flyby major, and unfortunately I'm on the teaching side now, so I'm getting students who come into it thinking that, and I'm like, oh no, you're going to be writing a whole lot, and you're going to learn how to write for so many different settings, from PR to journalism to corporate comm, to research. And that's no easy feat.
My communications classes literally changed my life. Like, and like I was talking to my dad about it the other day. I was like, everything I've learned in college was honestly from communications.
Mm-hmm.
And it's about messaging and meaning making and
Yes.
interpretation and interpersonal. Like,
Yeah.
it's just life. It's just
Yeah, it really is. It's life. You hit it. That's
yeah.
what it feels like. Like even sitting and learning in the one class, they were like, oh, there was no word for microaggressions. Like people used to have to explain what those situations felt like, but there was no word for it. And a communication professional put a title on that experience. Like most of the experiences we have, someone in communications did the research and found the language to explain that, so we can point to it and call a thing and then work on fixing it. So
Yeah.
it's like it gets really deep.
Yeah, like so me and husband were having this conversation the other day because I'm like, so obviously I'm a comms girl.
Mm-hmm.
And like, so I was like, just what you said. So a thing might be a thing and it has existence, but if it doesn't have language,
Yep.
it doesn't really have like legs or a solution. Like
Yeah.
it's there.
It's there.
It's
It's
there,
there.
but it's not necessarily noticeable or discernible if there's no
Right.
language around it to say that this repeating phenomenon is a thing.
Right. Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
And we owe that to communication, that we don't have to, like, I don't have to, I have to say now, I was discriminated against. If someone
Yeah.
put language behind that word, discrimination, we know what it means now. And so it takes away a lot of the labor of having to explain every single time you encounter something. No, there's a word for that. Look it up. Done. Right? That is what
Yeah.
communication and writing and English and all this is all about. So it's super important.
It is just that deep. So you've worn a lot of hats. Of the hats, if you
Yeah.
could say what your favorite is, like
Oh,
what's been your like, oh my gosh, I would just keep doing this.
forever.
Yeah.
Um, so I've bounced back and forth between journalism, PR a lot, and I've been teaching in between both. Journalism at its core, when you really break it down to what we're doing, is I get to talk to the smartest, most interesting people in the world. And, the harder part is trying to characterize their stories and experiences. But to be able to have those conversations um, is priceless. You wouldn't, I would do it with no pay. I would interview people forever,
Yeah.
and just pick their brains and get to know what makes them tick and, what made them decide to spend their entire life researching, the origins of a cell.
Yeah.
Huh? And so they say journalists are like masters of none because we know a little bit about a whole lot of things. And I
Yeah.
used to hate that, but I absolutely love it now. Like, I love the fact that just about any topic that comes up, it's like, oh, I did a story on that before. I know a little bit about it, and
Yeah.
at least I can jump into that conversation. So it's almost like a master class in life being
Yeah.
a journalist, because you meet people from so many different walks of life. You get to learn a little bit about how all these different fields and businesses and industries work, through those interviews. And of course, you gain personal connections along the way, people that you remain connected to beyond that interview. And sometimes, end up being a part of your life or changing your life. So that to me is priceless. I say the journalism hat takes the cake, hands down.
Awesome. I couldn't agree more. It's like just kind of watching you, right? And just watching the things that you write about. I'm always like kind of in awe, like, oh my gosh, she gets to learn so much, like,
Yeah.
in all of these experiences because like you're the conduit, right? But
Right.
even as the conduit, like traces of whatever it is gets left behind,
Right.
right? So that's amazing.
Yeah. I
So,
love that.
so good. Um, so as a professor, right?
Yeah.
Like you're shaping the communicators of tomorrow and
Oh man. Yeah.
no pressure.
No pressure.
And you are interacting with people who, who are kind of new to this and some who are true to this. And you're helping them really understand more and more. Like, what is that experience like? Because I was reading something the other day that was like, you're an expert. You're not an expert when you do something. You're an expert when you teach something.
Mm.
And you kind of continue learning through the teaching. So like,
Mm.
what has that experience been like as like having the Socratic experience with
Yeah.
students where you're grading them?
I mean, I prefer that quote that you just gave about when you teach, you're an expert, because I've always heard it like, it was something like, those who do something and those who don't teach. And I was like, oh, that's so shady. I used to hate that line. I'm like, darn it. So one of the cool things about teaching and practicing, which is super important to me, and it's also the reason why I don't get much sleep, is that it's great to be practicing in both PR and journalism in real time and teaching in real time. So I'm not digging into some, 5-year-old textbook and telling kids stuff that is outdated and not relative to practical application. I'm often able to bring things directly from my news day or directly from the last client I work with on the PR side and say, this is what it looks like in real life, so that they know what to expect if they enter those fields. But there's tons of challenges to it all. Certainly now in this virtual environment, all of my classes are virtual this semester. That's been a real challenge. A big part of what I love about teaching is interacting with the students,
Yeah.
face to face, and sharing ideas. And like you said, in a really good class, I'm learning just as much from them as they are learning from me, right? In different ways. And some of that gets lost with the virtual setting, no matter how excellent I try to transform some of these classes. But yeah, there are challenges, right? Grading is takes a lot of time. And I'm unfortunately finding that there are a lot more students who have either bought into or been sold this idea that, there's only certain ways to function in communications and have a really good career. And so I encounter lots of students, especially at the school I teach at LaSalle, who think the main way or the only way is like broadcast sports journalism. That's
Oh,
it. We have a legacy of folks who went on to do broadcasting for sports, because Philly's a great sports town. But I'm like, there's so much more. And so sometimes I have to like pull their ear a little bit to get them to see the bigger picture of like, it's okay if you don't become a sports broadcaster. There's so many other amazing and fun things you can do with these skills. And also getting them to want to do the early work. So the other fascination with communication is I want to be Wendy Williams. I want to have a TV show where I just get to sit and talk. And I'm like, whoa, scale back. Or they mention certain people and they say, oh, I want to, start like a Wendy Williams type show or a Joe Budden podcast or something. I'm like, a lot of these people have communication degrees, first of all, because I've had students tell me they're going to drop out and start their own thing. And I'm like, hey, go for it. I'm not saying you can't. I'm saying most of your favorites have a communication degree, and there's nothing wrong with finishing up, right? And seeing what you can get out of this experience. But also that there's so much grunt work and levels that come before you get to that mainstream. I'm on TV every day. I interview who I want to, when I want to kind of life. And unfortunately, a lot more and more students I'm seeing in this generation either don't want to subscribe to that grunt work, or that, putting in your time and just kind of doing the more basic things that are so critical to doing those other things better later. So that's my fight. It's like, yo, the grunt work is worth it. And I often just use my own experience because I'm a LaSalle alum. And I say, I was in your shoes 10 years ago. I look where I am. You know what I mean? Like, it's worth it to
yeah,
put in the time, to put in the work.
yeah, seriously. I think,
Yeah.
and that's something I didn't think of, right? Like the idea that, we have so much access, and everything seems
Yes.
like, I'm just gonna start
Yep.
this, I'm gonna start that, and then
Yep.
it's gonna take off, and I'm gonna be a millionaire in 5 months.
Mm-hmm.
Like, and that timeline is not always the timeline.
No.
Um, yeah, like I
And
didn't.
I think I wish we had more shows, which is on my list, but we need more shows that show what comes before the fame and what comes before all the acclaim and the awards. Like I had a student who told me like she wants to be Issa Rae, and I'm like, that's fantastic. Issa Rae was going to college and writing these scripts and putting on plays at her university and doing her YouTube channel at the same damn time. Like she was working very hard. And I think a lot of that gets lost once you see somebody hit the top. Like we get little profiles here and there, but no one really shows the grind to
Mm-hmm.
make you appreciate that rise.
Mm-hmm. And if you even read very specifically Issa Rae's story, like a lot of the people that
Mm-hmm.
she knows and a lot of people that like came up with her were people that she met in school.
Yep.
Like
Yep.
it's your network.
Yeah, the network is priceless. Like I'm not shouting for paying thousands and thousands of dollars and going into debt for a degree. I'm saying if you're going to pay those thousands of dollars and go into debt for a degree, get everything you can get out of it. And so the networking and the opportunity to put on your own production using their stage and their equipment. Soon as you leave the academia setting, you realize how expensive all that stuff is and how hard it is to get access to, even down to just having a laptop and an empty space to do work in. And so if you have that for 4 years, use it. Just use it.
Take advantage, like literally
Yes.
way.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
It's absolutely crazy. So dang it, I had questions.
It's okay.
I love it. Okay, so we're in the world of quarantine, and we are
Mm,
kind of like, we're doing a lot with a little space.
mm,
How
mm.
have you been managing with like, with all the hats? Plus, you're a mama, and you're in a relationship. Like, there's a lot that you
Oh
have
my
to
God.
like do within
Yeah.
the four walls, the two floors, of like
Yeah.
home. Like, how have you been managing with all the hats and all the stuff?
I mean, I hate to say I'm doing great because a lot of people are stressed
Weird.
out. And I'm not going to say I'm not stressed out, but I'm
Yeah.
one of those people who like thrives under pressure.
Mm.
So in some ways, it has put me in like overdrive mode. And I follow this account on Twitter called the Nap Ministry, and so they're probably going to be like, "Girl, no, take a nap." But I feel like in quarantine, I've gotten more work done than I've ever done in my whole life.
Yeah.
Because I'm working at home, I'm not wasting time on a commute. So that's 2 hours of my day. Like I was spending at least 45 minutes to an hour just on the road, going back and forth, getting gas, dropping off a kid, picking up a kid.
Yeah.
That 2 hours is mine again. And not having to spend time getting dialed up, quite frankly. I don't have to get dressed all the time and be all fancy before I take that phone call or that Zoom because we might not even be seeing each other. So I've been working really, really hard, and it's fulfilling to me because there were a lot of opportunities that I wanted to go after or pursue that, quite frankly, I didn't have time for, or that I think those opportunities didn't exist before we found ourselves, one, in the COVID space, and two, in this social justice space we're in now.
Yeah.
I feel like I've gotten way more calls to do things than I did before because it's like, oh my God, we need a black face. And it's annoying that what had to happen happened for those opportunities to present themselves, but I'm glad that they are. And I'm taking advantage of them now. I'm tired. I am tired. One of the problems with being an overachiever or someone who's like, thrives under pressure is that it's hard to tell yourself to stop and take those breaks and take the deserved naps or actually take a day off. Like sometimes it's 7 days and I don't even realize I've worked 7 days straight. Like weekends don't calculate to me. It's not the weekend, it's another day. Like they all just run together one long day.
Yep.
So I've become a plant mom 10 times over. I got
That's
one of my
all.
babies next to me, tons of little plants all over the house that I take care of, and that's calming. I'm spending way more time with my kids, even though they drive me crazy, the 2-year-old and the 11-year-old. But it's nice to be home with them and to get to see them and check in with them. But our house really is a case study for like, and I might even write about it, I'm torn, but I'm teaching at the collegiate level. My boyfriend is attending at the collegiate level online. My daughter is attending at the grade school level online. And then my son is physically going to daycare, but then having virtual at home sessions for speech therapy.
Oh,
So we are experiencing it all.
yeah.
Um, and so it's just really just working together. Communication has been key of like posting each other's schedules everywhere and talking to one another. Like, did you eat today? Did you get your break? What time is this class over? What time is that over? Who's going to cook dinner? Who's going to pick up the kids? Or, you know what I mean? So that we're all helping each other so no one gets burned out.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, it's just about focusing on this unit, like as a unit, us supporting each other. So far, it's only been a week. My daughter started this week, and so it's so far so good. But yeah, it's a lot.
I love that. It's all about supporting this unit. Like,
Yeah,
that's kind of a big deal because sometimes
yeah,
we go outside of ourselves for like all the other things, and
yep,
and then whatever's happening within your home, it's like that's going to be on the tail end of everything. But then
yes.
you kind of have to make it the front end because now it's where you are. Like,
It's where you are. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, it made it primary, and I'm not upset about that. You know,
Yeah.
at first you think about all these things like, oh my God, I want to get out and I want to see people and I want to do things, but in a way, it's like this is the time to build your home the way you want it to be and strengthen those relationships and find the cracks in them and spend that quality time and learn new ways to communicate and have fun with each other. You have nowhere to go. So if you're going to do it, start now, you know? So that's been great, actually. That's been great.
Like you have nowhere to go. So
Where
I
you
mean,
going?
to the supermarket, like
That literally to the market and back. Like I have not been out. So yeah, we're finding lots of new ways to have fun with each other and to support each other and like all our different stuff we got going on.
that's awesome. That's awesome. Yeah, like we just like went out for the first time anywhere, like
Hmm.
in Austin. Like
Yeah.
not they're from here, and and the only reason we went out was because like we had to do work. And it was like, oh my gosh, I didn't know that was there. That's so cool. And then
Right.
where we were driving and then drove right back. And I was like, all right, that was nice.
Yeah. It's like
Perfect.
a foreign world when you go out. Like,
Yeah.
oh my God, I haven't seen these things in so long. So yeah.
Seriously. Like
Yeah.
it's refreshing too, right? Because like when you
Yeah.
go out, like now it's like, oh my gosh, it's so nice.
It's so nice.
You're like taking it all in. Like you're a tourist in your own home, like all the time.
Yeah. Or that it's actually hot outside. Like, because I haven't been out. So I like go out and I'll be like, oh, it's summer. Because I'm inside in the
Seriously.
air conditioner. I haven't experienced the elements really. So like,
Like
oh yeah, it's summer.
at all. One time I opened the door and it was like the thermometer, the weather read 100 and something. But
Whoa.
like I'm in the house and I'm just like, that can't be. And I opened the
I don't
door
feel
and I'm
that. Exactly.
like, oh,
Exactly.
that's
Um,
great.
yeah, it's been crazy.
I love it. I love it. I mean, so you did mention, just kind of being offered a lot of opportunities right now in the most recent, racial
Yeah.
uprising, and
Yeah.
I've kind of noticed that with people, and
Mhm.
like they're being put in the spotlight more, and being given more opportunities. Which, in one respect, it's like cool because
Right.
we still need money. Um,
Right.
in another respect, like, well, what happens next when you feel like
Mm.
your fill of your diversity hires or
Mhm.
because it happens, right, in companies
Yes.
and in opportunities all the time. So I mean, like, how has your experience been,
Mhm.
both as a journalist and as a contractor, right? Because not only are you like doing things, you're writing about things. So I mean, like, how has that been? Because I'm sorry, I'm loading this question. Another thing
Okay.
I've been thinking about is like, I personally I scroll through my timeline and I avoid death.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, like heavy.
Absolutely.
Like I just avoid it at this point, and it's just like, well, what can we do? Um,
Yeah.
but as a journalist, like you again, you're the conduit, right?
Mhm.
So how has that been trying to
Mm.
diffuse this information as you receive it, while being the I'm going to use the term diversity hire again, not really meaning
Yeah.
that, but you know what I mean.
Yeah.
Like how's that all been for you?
Yeah. It's been interesting and awkward and challenging at some times. I definitely have subscribed to what you said of avoiding death. I'm one of the school that we don't need to see this to believe it's real. We live it every day. We live with the fear that that could be one of our family members, our loved ones, our friends every day. So I don't need to see it to believe it. So I skipped that. And what I focus on is I love Black Twitter. So I love to see the commentary from us about us. And it makes me think about things in new ways or different angles of things, helps me connect with the right people, etc. But in my writing, I just found myself in this unique position because I run a healthcare column that just launched last year. So COVID comes and it's like all of a sudden everything is healthcare, where prior to that, no one was really talking about healthcare to this extent, certainly not public health. You would see a story about, how to prevent HIV in your community every now and again, but it just wasn't a primary point of conversation like it is now because of COVID. Everybody wants to kind of unearth how we got here, how we can prevent this from happening again, how we're going to get out of this pandemic. So I've been in high demand because of the healthcare content alone. And then adding the layer that I'm a Black woman working in this space, and particularly in Philadelphia, we've seen tons of turmoil in the media outlets here, with racial issues coming to light. Finding moments to have my say, choosing them wisely. I believe in only really speaking or writing a piece, especially opinion pieces, which I published my first 2 op-eds this year, because I don't believe in just issuing my opinion on everything. Everybody got an opinion on everything. That's cool. I really only want to do that if I'm adding to the conversation in a substantial way or helping a large number of people to see things a different way, right? Or to give them some action items to sort of change their viewpoint, right? Or maybe see things in a more wholesome way.
Yeah.
So I wrote about being the only Black woman left at my publication at the time, and I have another op-ed coming up in the Inquirer writing just about the experience of working in corporate America and then leaving to start my own thing and why that has been so important for me as a Black woman. So I think this time, I don't think I would have got those opportunities to write those op-eds if we were not in the space that we're in. So when you mention that whole diversity hire thing, we're definitely in a space where I hear people knocking on my door, my virtual door, my email, and it's like, I don't think you would have reached out to me, or even people that I was already connected to who never would have greenlit a project or, right, if we weren't in this space. So a part of me, again, is grateful for that opportunity. And you say to yourself, I don't care what brought you to this moment to believe that my content is important. I'm glad that you believe that now. And then the other part is exactly like you said, I hope it's sustained. I hope that after you view this conversation as ending, because a certain person gets arrested for a murder or because we find a cure for COVID, that you still know that our voices are important, that you still want to hire me for these jobs, that you still want to publish my op-ed and you view my opinion as important. So it's a catch-22. It's like part of me is like super happy. And again, as a person who jumps at opportunities, I'm taking them all. If I'm awake enough, yes, I'm here and I'm going to do it. But in the back of my mind, I'm like, how long is this going to last? And of course, already preparing for the pivot of that, when people stop actively calling, having a plan for proactively reaching out, hopefully sustaining some of those relationships to keep getting those opportunities in the future. But it's just a weird space to be in, to be grateful and excited, but also concerned and unsure about the future. It's weird.
Yeah. And I mean, that's kind of the self-employed battle kind of in general, where it's like, I need to remain relevant. But then what does the zeitgeist say?
Yep.
Because if at any point, the culture toward whatever I'm doing changes, and, then I move back to the point of educating people as to why they need me, as opposed to
right.
like, responses for, whatever this.
Exactly.
Yeah.
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 Yeah. I hope we stay here. Yeah. I hope we stay here a little bit longer.
Love it.
Just a little bit.
So like I have this thing about like saying yes and no to things.
Oh Jesus. Take me down.
where it's
What
like,
is no? What is no?
no to speak of. I am learning no. I am learning no. I previously
Yeah.
didn't know no.
Mm-hmm.
And you know, like even like my shirt right now, it says like serve others. You know what I
I
mean?
know. Same. Phenomenal woman. I'm the one who will do it
Oh,
all.
no,
Ask me.
I will do it all because I love you. And I mean like so I think the thing that I'm learning right now is that like and I like wrote it on a post-it and put it on my mirror like 2 years ago where it's like a purposeful yes requires a series of no's, right?
Mm-hmm.
So like how do you determine your yeses and your nos? Like what is a yes for you
Yeah.
and what is like okay.
Yeah. That's hard. So
Oh no, where'd you go? Oh, I love it. 1 second, guys. Let me figure out where Queen went. Oops, I'm muted. All right, technical difficulties won't stop us, as we have seen. So we're
yes, Lord. See, this is the new reality, right? This
this
is
is it.
it.
This is it. This is it. And I cannot. Yeah, this is it.
Yep. This is it. This is it. That's all.
Whew. So
But yes, I am back. I am back.
welcome. And you know what? I don't do Zoom calls for this reason, right? Because it's just so
Yep.
much. And people
Yep.
always use Zoom now. They're like, let's get on a Zoom. And I'm just like,
Yeah.
you
Zoom
didn't
fatigue.
before.
Yeah. Yeah. It's so much to remember. I'm like, oh my goodness, is my device dying? Is the Wi-Fi on? Is the
What's happening? And like especially around here with the like so the tornado didn't come here, but we got like some aftermath of it, I guess. And
yeah.
Wi-Fi has just like for the last couple of weeks, it
Yeah.
just no, I'm gonna work sometimes, and sometimes
Yep.
I'm not, sucker.
Yep.
So it's just like no, I'm not
Yeah.
pestering people. Like no, I can't do this.
That is one thing I miss about working in a corporate office face to face. They take care of all that stuff for you, you know?
Yeah. And then
So
if you're wrong, you can be like IT, what's up? Like
exactly. We're now wearing like 55 hats. It's like you're the host and you're the guest and you are the tech person and you're the content creator and the editor and the lunch maker and the
yay!
it's a lot.
Okay,
So
so
yeses and nos.
for the yeses and the nos. Ooh, my battery. Look at this. For the yeses and nos.
I was like, oh my goodness, I gotta check my percentage. Lord.
All right, and we're plugged in. Yes, Lord.
Yay, me too.
For the yeses and nos, how do you
Yeah.
determine what's a yes, and how do you
Mm.
determine what's a no in order to make space for the things that you
Yeah.
really.
Yeah, I think so. First of all, you got to eat. And so often I hear people answer this question. They say, oh, go with your passion and choose the things that are important to you. When you are first starting out in your career, everything is a yes, just about, right? Except for the things that compromise your wellness, your morals and ethics. It's a yes, because you need to take as many opportunities as possible to expand your network, to get those examples and proof or sort of evidence of the quality of your work under your belt.
Yeah.
Until you have that, there isn't a lot of freedom with the yeses and nos on the career side. I think as you move up, like I've been doing this for almost a decade now, that starts to lighten up. And you probably don't even realize the shift of that point where you're like, wait a minute, I have a choice here. Like, I don't really necessarily need this money or this client, or I could be spending this Saturday doing this. Like, I have an option. And so when you first get those options, if you're anything like me, you're like, wait, I have a choice. And you still say yes because you're not used to saying no. Right. So part of it is adjusting to that shift or acknowledging that moment or point in your career where you're doing okay financially, or you know that you could supplement with something else and you really do have the choice. But I think I go back to the book, The Year of Yes. My boyfriend bought it for me a couple years ago, and I was annoyed because I was like, I say yes to everything. Why would he get me The Year of Yes? And the most important chapter in that book was the chapter on no. And it started by saying no is a complete sentence. That's it. It's one of few words that you could put a period after it, and it's done. It does not need any explanation. And so we spend a lot of time in life conditioned to that we have to do a lot of explaining of why. And it's not always necessary, right? If you know intrinsically that there are some real important reasons why you can't do something, no. If you feel in your gut that this is not a good client to take on, or that this project is not going to be good for you, no. You know what I mean? And again, if you have the leeway, the flexibility financially and schedule wise to say no, think about whether or not there's something you could replace that time with for your mental health, for your well being, spending time with your family or friends. No, right? But it's easier said than done to make that transition. I was a yes person my whole life. I think I didn't understand no until 3 years ago, maybe. And that's really been when I started to change my life, quitting a job that was a really good job and saying there's more passionate work that I want to do, or there's just more work that I want to do that I'm not going to be able to do in this setting, and having faith and trusting that if I stepped away, I could be successful on my own. And then in that sphere, again, choosing clients and projects and stories that really resonate with who I am and what I want my legacy to be. Because again, when you're starting out, you don't have time to think about that. Like, is this story going to be a part of my legacy? And now it's like, yeah, I do. I don't want to just write any old thing for any old body. I want to write stories that matter, that change things, that make people think deeply, that, help people live a better life. You don't have those options early on in your career. So once you get to that point, when you have that choice, I think that's when the no's come in. And really the way that you choose the yeses and no's is really thinking about the long term. Who do you want? What do you want to be known for? Are you the person who just did anything? Or did you have some specific areas of impact that you can be remembered by, and things that you enjoy doing, quite frankly? Again, once you have that leeway, why choose something that isn't making your heart beat and really getting you excited to wake up in the morning and work on? So I'm fortunate to be in that place finally after a decade of grinding, where I do most of my choosing of like, yeah, I really do want to do this project, and this is cool, and this is important, and I like these people, so I want to work with them. So that's a blessing.
I love it. I love it so much. I think, again, because we're in such like a digital, everything is easy access kind of era. like people don't necessarily think about building cachet in order to
Mhm.
say your appropriate yeses and your appropriate nos.
Mhm.
And like you have the track record and you have like something behind you like that you actually built on. And not only that, like you're a mother. Like the first thing that you said was like, are we eating?
Right. Exactly. I gotta feed my kids, you know. So there's a lot of passion talk, and passion is beautiful, but you got to make your passion make money for you, or you're gonna have a really hard life. And so sometimes that's finding the simpler ways to make money off of your craft. Like that's when I really start dissecting. Okay, who needs writers, and what
Yeah.
do they need them for? And you know, what are the easiest things for me to write versus how much people are willing to pay for that thing? And trying to find as many of the easy writing things that pay really high as possible. Like thinking more strategically because I'm a mom, I got kids, they got to eat, and you got to eat. So, yeah, we got to. Passion is one thing, getting paid is another.
That's so funny. My best friend and I talk about that all the time. She's like, yeah, men do things differently. She's like, they just kind of jump. Whereas
Yeah.
women are like, how are we making sure that everyone's good though?
Yes, much more strategic. It's our gift, and that's fine. This is why we complement one another. Um, but yeah, strategy is important. And again, early in your career, you're in survival mode usually. You're doing and taking whatever opportunity comes. But the more experience you have and the more leeway you have, you do want to think through, you know, the eating and the legacy building, you know.
I love it. I love
Yeah.
it. Do you think you had a strategy for that in the beginning? Or was it just like discovery for a while and then it was like, okay, these are the patterns, you
Yeah.
know, let's create a framework. You know what I mean?
I think I stumbled through a plan. Like from day
Yeah.
one, I wanted to be a writer. I wanted to be a writer since I was like in second grade. I specifically remember the first thing I wrote, the earliest thing I read that made me know that. So that was the plan, right? And that's broad as hell. So there was lots of stumbling in that framework. You know, I didn't even know journalism was an option. I always thought you had to, if you want to be a writer, you write books. You read books and you write books. So I read a crap ton of books when I was younger. And then I got to college and they were like, choose English or communication. And I was like, huh? Because English was like, let's read more books. I'm like, yeah, that's what I've been doing. But how am I going to make money reading books? They were like, oh, you'll probably be a teacher. And then, you know, once you get some credit, and I was like, okay. And then on the communication side, I encountered a professor who I love dearly, Huntley Collins, who talked me into taking a journalism course and doing my first journalism internship. And I was like, oh, this is a whole other world. So it's definitely been this fortunate stumbling through finding all these different ways that my writing could make money for me. You know, after journalism was PR, and I learned that through an internship. After PR was corp com, and I learned that through an internship. But now having, you know, like here's 5 total different lanes that you could take your writing in and make money off of, it's definitely been a stumble. But I've always wanted to be and still want to be like the woman who can write it all. Like, you know, short stories, long stories, blogs, speeches, great tweets, advertisements, books, hopefully one day, film. Like I want to be able to write it all. So that's the big goal.
That's awesome. That's awesome. I know you're gonna write a book. Like you're going
One
great.
day,
Like
one day.
first you're gonna be like in the New Yorker, and then you're gonna like write a book, and then like
I like it. I like this vision. Keep going. I
no,
see.
like I've seen it
See?
for you already. So I'm just waiting and watching the unfolding. This flourish is
Oh,
happening. So you know,
oh, thank you.
I'll be first in line.
Thank
Um,
you.
so I mean, like I love that you wanted to be a writer forever. Like along the way, have you discovered like your purpose? Like and
Yeah.
like and how does that play into your work? Like
Yeah. I'm still in a place where I'm figuring that out.
mm,
Um, because there's what I want, right? And then there's also what God wants. And
yeah,
those may not necessarily be the same thing. And I think we spend most of our life trying to figure out that bigger picture of purpose.
yeah,
Meanwhile, while you're trying to figure it out, sometimes you're already kind of doing it.
Mhm.
So I pay attention to the moments where I feel fulfilled, and I also believe God is pleased in that moment. And I
Yeah.
think those are the little moments of purpose. It's hinting to me like, oh, wow, you felt great when you did that. Everyone received it well and benefited from it when you did that. And God's smiling right now. Like, that's a little purpose hint right there. That's your sweet spot. So I just try to pay attention to those moments. And sometimes it's a really good story. And so it's like, do I shift to, kind of focusing on telling those kinds of stories? Do I build my own thing? Then you get into all the practical of how do I carry it out.
Mhm.
But yeah, I don't know. I wake up every day. I try to, do good things, create good content, be kind to people because I'm interviewing people from all walks of lives who have been through some crazy stuff.
Yeah.
So I try to tell their stories in a way that captures that and that honors their experience. Um, so that's like the big purpose goal for me right now in this moment is just honor people through your writing, honor their experiences through your writing. Use it for good and not bad because we know you can. We see examples of it all the time.
Mhm.
But yeah, that greater purpose, I think look for those moments where it just kind of speaks to you.
I love it. I love it so much. Um, okay, so as a PR person, as a
Yeah.
communication specialist,
Yeah.
um, what is some advice you would give to uh, to independent business owners right now, trying to navigate, you know, communicating in a hyper digital world? Um,
Yeah.
there's a lot. The world is different.
Yeah.
Um, and it's kind of funny, and it's not going back to what we knew. Even if we like
Yeah.
kind of get through this,
Yep.
like everything's going to continue to be different.
Yeah.
From a communications perspective, like how would you advise someone to kind of like manage themselves and their messaging in this time?
Mm. I talked about this in a panel with PRSSA recently, or PRSA, and I think the key is to just be authentic. Now is the time to be your authentic self,
Mm-hmm.
and to seek every opportunity and platform that will allow you to be your authentic self. And I think those experiences and opportunities will present themselves from there. And you'll also weed out a lot of people and situations and opportunities that are not good for you by being, again, your authentic self. They either you take it or leave it.
Yeah.
So I think that's what's great about this space that we're in. Not only, yes, we talked about we're getting more opportunities, diverse voices, and particularly to speak up and have these platforms. But also, it's very easy to connect with people because all the walls are down, right? DMing somebody is not weird now. How else would you contact them? We're not doing face to face meetings. So while these walls are down and while it's easier to connect with people and while it's easier to reach out and while people are more receptive to folks being their authentic selves, strike while the iron is hot. Go for the things that you never thought you would go for. All sorts of things are just shifting, in terms of how they are delivered or what folks are open to offering and doing. So I think we have to just seize these opportunities while they're there. But being authentic is the true message. If you put a version of yourself out there right now, that is what you're going to be in demand for. So just, being very thoughtful about what is your brand, what do you want to be known for as a company or as an individual, because right now, again, with all these increased access to platforms, you will get it, right? They will pick you up and you will thrive for that thing, and you will have to ride that horse and keep doing that thing over and over and over again. And if it's not your authentic self, good luck, because that's going that's going to get tired.
Yeah.
um yeah, so digging deep and figuring out, what is my authentic self? How do I communicate that as a part of my brand for each opportunity that I get? And again, putting yourself out there more proactively for these opportunities to showcase your skills and who you are as a person. I think now, like even this experience we're having right now, this is us in the real. I'm in the living room on my couch. I'm chilling. This is me in a t-shirt and a turban because my hair ain't done. Like that that authenticity is welcomed now in a way that it used to be put on a face and where's your suit and you don't have on a tie and those hoops are not appropriate. Like all that fake stuff, not fake stuff, but just like, that forced,
That
um, you
presentation.
know, all of that is falling away.
Yeah.
So while it is, it's like shine as you, shine as you.
Oh,
I'm here, take it or leave it. And often, because of the time we're in, they're taking it. They're like, oh, wow, authenticity is refreshing. Yes, it is.
I'm writing that down. Shine as you. Woo.
Yes, really. I mean, for me, it's been refreshing to not have to do that. And I actually broke away from that several years ago. You learn that in corporate America, putting on this, especially Black folks, putting on this second person shield to like assimilate and to, having to speak two languages and talk a certain way and dress a certain way. And all of that is down. Like, I don't care who you are. You're the president, you're doing a live. It's possible that your internet connection is going to fall out or your kid's going to run across the background. Like, that authenticity, you can't hide it anymore because we're all at home on a Zoom. So while it's welcomed, showcase your true self and see what happens. And so far, I'm seeing a lot of people who are doing that are seeing a lot of success because, again, they're just bringing themselves to the table. And it's so refreshing and it's so welcome to see people like being who they are in their own skin and being just comfortable with it and it being accepted on the receiving end.
I love it. I love it. I love it. That's so real. And like authenticity is sustainable.
Yes.
You
Yes. Right. It doesn't work to be you. It's like, here I am. Hi.
it's me.
Right. Exactly.
I love it. I love it. I was
Yeah.
joking, with my husband the other day because I was recording something for him, and I'm like, I'm gonna tell everyone I'm a cinematographer now, and he's like, don't do that because they're gonna ask you to do something,
That cinematographer does.
like, and you can't do it. Like,
Yes.
oh, you're right.
Yes.
No, just be you.
Just
Be you.
we all have greatness in us. Highlight those great points.
Yeah. I
Mhm.
love it. I super love it. Ah, okay. So I would have asked, if there were anything that you want to like leave with the group,
Yeah.
um, what would it be? And I mean, I guess I can still ask. Maybe you have more. Of course you have more.
Hmm.
You already asked.
There's always more.
Or you can just
um,
thing. But yeah.
yeah, no, I think that last point is it. That authenticity point is important. I think it's one of the most refreshing things I've seen. And just you liberate other people to shine as themselves as you do it.
Mm.
So the more you're like authentically you and comfortable in your skin and confident in how great you are, and you're just dope. And it is what it is. Like I'm me, I'm dope, I'm here. Other people go, oh, I can just be me and be dope and be here too. And it's like, yeah. And the world would be a greater place if everybody would just do that and
Yeah.
not feel like they have to hide behind walls and shells and makeup and whatever else gets put on us by these different structures, working in corporate America or being a minority in a predominantly white space, all sorts of things that make us have to create these shields. Take them off. We home. What they gonna do? We home. You ain't coming to my house to discipline me.
You're home. It's no big deal. I love it.
Yep.
I love every part of that. Oh my gosh. You're like literally just I just love you so much. Like
Oh, I love you
I've
too.
always like been like, oh, that's my big sister,
Yes.
and with reason, right? It wasn't just like, oh,
Yes.
person, whatever. Like, no, like I've
Yes.
I've always authentically felt cared for by you, and
Oh,
just the energy you put into just like everything you do is something that I've always wanted to emulate. So thank you for
oh, thank you, Liv.
for being you and
Thank
for watching
you.
being Mary Jane with me.
Yes, juice box.
Juice
Juice
box
box.
sangria.
Sangria, exactly.
Y'all, if y'all haven't tried these, what were they? Were they the Minute Maid or the Welch's
I
ones?
think it was Welch's.
Man, y'all.
You don't know. That was it right there. You a mom, you gotta get it in.
Kids running around.
Yep. Yep.
We were good.
We were good. He'll never know. Little juice box.
Seriously. Juice boxes.
Oh,
It is what but yeah, thank you for being here. Thank you for being who you are to your students, to everyone you write for. Just keep doing you. I'm grateful. Where
thank
can we
you.
find you if we're like, oh my
Yes.
God, she's amazing. I just want to follow up.
Yes. So you can find me talking trash and retweeting angrily about Black issues on Twitter at the Queen Muse One. I'm most active on that platform, but I post regularly also on Instagram at the Queen Muse. I write a regular column, Next Health PHL, for Philadelphia Magazine. There's a newsletter. You can subscribe to that. So just, I guess, Google Philly Mag, Next Health PHL. And just stay tuned for bylines in other places. I freelance, so I'm writing for lots of other folks. And then if you want to connect with me to do work together, I'm always looking for new partners. www.thequeenmuse.com. And let's connect. Let's make some great content.
Awesome. Queen, you're the best. You're the best. You're the best. Okay, ma'am. Thank you again for being here.
Thank you, Liv.
I love you so much.
Thank you for having me. Bye.
So, y'all, if you don't connect with Queen, and if you don't follow her and follow up with her, you're absolutely missing out. She is a world. She is a galaxy. And there's just so much happening with her and so much happening through her that you really don't want to miss. So please follow her on Twitter, Instagram. If you need communications work, PR work, like follow up with her because she is just truly excellent. So shameless plug time. I just created a course called How Does It Make Money? So what it is about is figuring out the strategy behind your business. A lot of us start businesses and, we have our services and we have our products and we're excited about all of these different things that we do, but we don't necessarily know how to communicate it, how to structure it, how to make sure we're actually making money at the end of the day. Yeah, money can come in, but we also have costs and things that we don't really account for. So we don't really know if we've actually made money or like hit zero, broke even at the end of it. So it's kind of important to know these things and also know how to strategically move forward. So I'm going to put it in the comment section, in the description, wherever. And it is going to be the How Does It Make Money course. It's super accessible. It's $37. It also comes with a 48-page workbook. Psh, come on. You need this. I need this. I'm actually working through it myself, which is funny. So guys, thank you again. Thank you so much again for being here. It is a pleasure to speak to you week after week, and I can't wait to see you again next week. All right, guys. Bye.